AMC Nation, good morning. Johnwicksnipin is back. As promised, I am about to do the TD Ameritrade call. I've got my questions written down, some of them from your comments, some of them are just questions we already know we want to ask. Let me show you real quick. TD Ameritrade, there's the number, here's my phone, here's the call.
Welcome to TD Ameritrade. To hear about the dates when TD Ameritrade sends out...
I'm going to transfer an account to you. I don't know which one yet, but I really want to speak to someone with knowledge regarding trades. I am an AMC investor, and I have some questions regarding that stock. And I just want to get to your most knowledgeable person if possible.
Okay. Are you looking for like advice, or like you wanted to talk to somebody about the platform?
I mean, is there someone available there at TD Ameritrade that can give advice?
Our financial consultants can give advice. I'd have to set like a phone appointment with you.
A phone appointment? Who can I speak to immediately?
So you could speak to a trader immediately if you just wanted to generally discuss like the platform and how it works, or some general questions about AMC.
Okay, yeah, let's talk to a trader.
Okay. All right, I'm going to send you on through.
Thank you.
TD Ameritrade Trade Desk. My name is Benjamin Trank. Can I have your first and last name? Thank you. And did you have an account number I could help you with today?
I am not an account holder at TD Ameritrade, but I do have some questions because I may be opening an account or transferring my account to you.
All right. Yeah, what questions can I answer for you today?
Okay, so I'm calling regarding AMC, and I just had some general questions because I'm hearing a lot of things and stuff like that on social media, and I kind of want to talk to an expert like yourself to see if, like, is this real or not, and if you can answer the questions to the best of your abilities on what you can state and what you can't state. But it's something that I'm considering before I open up an account, just to make sure, because I've heard some kind of scary, weird things, and I just want to make sure with the representative at TD Ameritrade that kind of understands things and can kind of help me so that I can make my decision easier.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to help you as much as possible.
Okay, so first and foremost, if I open up an account with you guys, I'm able to buy stock in AMC share, like AMC. You guys have the actual shares?
Yeah, you can buy shares of AMC. We currently do not have, let me check here. Yeah, the only trade restrictions that you might incur on AMC at the moment, and you can always check any current ones we might have by going to tdameritrade.com/restricted. And the only thing that's listed there for symbol AMC right now is it says we may also impact additional requirements on opening trades on options that expire. That's related to options expiring the same day. So, due to volatility, we may restrict options like opening an options position that expires the same day, but that seems to be about it right now.
Okay, so if I open up an account and I say I want to buy 1,000 shares, obviously you don't have those immediately available. You've got to kind of go get those shares, correct?
Well, we're not a market maker, so we don't have an inventory that we fill orders from. We would route your order out to one of several different market makers that are out there to try to get you a fill as quick as possible at the best price possible.
And that process is what, 2 to 3 days?
To fill an order? No, filling an order can happen in milliseconds. The settlement of a trade buying stock takes 2 business days according to regulation, but actually seeing your order fill, that could be almost virtually immediately. I guess you
Well,
could
yeah,
say
I mean,
it could take milliseconds.
yeah, I know you guys will fill it because you want to take in the order and fill it immediately, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I officially have the stock, right?
According to like regulation, like trade settlement regulation, it's T+2 on buying equity. So technically, you don't own the stock and you're not paying for that stock for 2 days after the buyout. Same with when you sell it, you're not giving those shares over and you're not receiving the money for selling them until 2 days after the transaction date either.
Okay. Are you aware of like this whole AMC fiasco?
Depends like in what regard you mean. Like I'm well aware of like the situation with meme stock trading and things like that have been going on for like a year now, I think.
Right, but is there like some validity in some of these terminology that's used? Like there's, naked shorting, there's synthetic shares. Like I'm just trying to figure this out because like for an investor, it's kind of like it's scary. Like, do I want to get involved in something that has this much information out there on social media, and it doesn't seem to ever be confirmed, but it also doesn't ever seem to be denied. But is that kind of stuff, is there a possibility that that's happening? Like there's naked shorting, there's synthetics, there's fake shares?
Is it possible? I really don't know, honestly. I mean, I help people with like self-directed retail accounts. I think the things I have heard about that are referring to accusations of big hedge funds doing such things. And having never worked for a hedge fund, I don't know if they can do that type of thing or not.
But you definitely can say that you can't officially deny that. You can't officially say no, that's not real, that's not possible, that's not happening.
I have nothing to prove it one way or the other.
Okay, all right. So
I mean, I myself, I can't say if somebody else in higher up in TD Ameritrade or Schwab knows more about that type of thing. I personally do not know.
You personally don't know. Okay. Another terminology that I hear used a lot is something called dark pools, which apparently is like a different platform where institutions go to trade, but that doesn't get immediately reported to the market.
Okay.
Is that something that's real? Like I don't want to invest in something like that because obviously I want to make money, and everybody keeps hyping this up on the street. People talk about it. They're like, "Oh, you should buy AMC," and then you go to social media and you're looking for any type of information possible, and it's like all pro buying this stock. But then you hear all this terminology and you're like, "Well, what is all this? I've never heard of any of this stuff," and it all seems to be tied around manipulation and corruption. And I'm just like, I need to speak to a somewhat professional at one of these brokerages to kind of tell me like, hey, listen, this stuff is actually possible. I can't tell you for sure that it's not, but I can't tell you for sure that it is.
Sure. I mean, there can be a private transaction of equity shares. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I don't know if that's the same term that's being used for what is being called a dark pool or not. I haven't really researched that term. It's not something that that comes up that I discuss with clients. As far as like what a dark pool is, I'm not really sure what the definition on that term is, but like if it's referring to just like private transactions that aren't happening where your order's like routed out and everybody can see it sitting there for a while. I mean, it is possible to have a private transaction of buying and selling it, equities.
But that's not for the public. That's for large institutions, correct?
It could be.
It could be. Okay. All right. And does that term naked short, is that a real term?
A naked short. I mean, according to things in my Series 7 book, for my brokerage licensing that I have, shares have to be available to be lent out. Now if there's some like extra special rules that again apply to hedge funds, because again, we're not a hedge fund, and there's, different leverage is allowed when it comes to hedge funds, but I don't know if it's possible for such thing to occur where there could be a naked short. That's definitely nothing that can happen here through TD Ameritrade.
So, okay, so you're saying like TD Ameritrade wouldn't, they wouldn't be doing something like that. Like you're basically saying, no, the only
Right.
way we borrow a share is if someone actually, we're borrowing it from somebody. And that's based on having a margin account, correct?
Yes, you would have to have margin enabled, and then shares would actually have to be available to lend out. And so we have basically three different classifications of like the lendability, so to speak, of shares. There are securities that are easy to borrow. It means that there's lots of shares available out there to be lent out if you wanted to short them. We have securities that are hard to borrow, which means that shares are less available, and you may be able to short them depending on like what the current inventory of those shares are, but they'll have additional fees because lending desks will charge more for lending those shares out. Not only here, but it's kind of matched up with what lending desks are charging just, across like the entire industry. And then there's also securities that are listed as none to borrow or not available to borrow. This means that either one, we don't allow it to be shorted, or two, there's just not like the opportunity to be able to short that stock, like on over-the-counter securities, and sometimes other ones as well.
Right. Are you able to tell me like if the public owns a large majority of this AMC stock?
I wouldn't have anything that tracks who owns AMC.
You don't have anything like that, and you can't give your opinion, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really give my opinion on anything. You're right, because I'm answering these calls for TD Ameritrade. I'm representing TD Ameritrade.
Got you. The other thing that I was hearing a lot is that this price, obviously, and this is why I'm trying to get involved in this, is because there's a lot of talk like this is a short squeeze, and everybody's holding it, buying and holding it because they want to squeeze out the short position, and that the price of the AMC stock could go up as high as 10,000 a share plus and beyond. And you see a lot of this stuff on social media.
That sounds really high. Have you considered the math on that? 10,000 a share, like what the market cap of this company would be?
Yeah, it's crazy. It'd be trillions,
really
trillions and trillions of dollars. That's why I'm trying to like get information. Like, is this serious or is this like a joke? But having
right, but have you considered like that market cap, like of AMC, and consider like the company itself, like, how much revenue do you think this company is bringing in? Have you looked at the fundamentals of like their balance sheet and things like that? And I'm not here to like steer you one way or the other. By all means, like maybe the price will go up, or maybe it won't, and maybe the company will go bankrupt one day. Nobody knows for sure, but like compare this to some of the biggest companies that you're familiar with that trade, publicly. Look up a couple of those and see what their market cap is. And you might see that, maybe a couple of them are, $2 trillion
right.
roughly. If this stock is $10,000 a share, that's an extremely huge difference in the market cap of this entire company.
Right, and the thing is that apparently from what I hear, it's like it's not really based on the business fundamentals. It's just based on kind of like a group aligned up and says, all right, we're going to trap the short hedge funds in this over leveraging of shorting this stock. And it's not really based about the fundamentals. It's just really based on everybody ganging up and saying, let's all buy at once and let's just hold and squeeze them out of this position, which would cause a ridiculous rise in share price.
Right, and it does, but I mean, people can say any number really too.
But that like a strategy like that is possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, that definitely happens. I mean, that happened on AMC last year in June, May or June.
No, I think you're talking about GameStop.
It happened on AMC as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, you're right.
It was like on May 21st, it was like $12 a share, and at the high on June 2nd, it was $72.62 a share.
Right. And then I remember
right around that time too.
Yeah. I remember at that, around that time too, there was like some big fiasco where people couldn't buy any more shares of GameStop on Robinhood or something like that. Like TD Ameritrade would never like remove the buy button or whatever, right? If it keeps running, you can still buy it.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. We did not restrict buying shares or closing out of shares either.
Unless
there were some restrictions on like naked option contracts that we had at that time, because naked options can have unlimited risk, right? So, we just, the risk management team was not willing to allow unlimited risk with the amount of, extremely high volatility that was going on GameStop and AMC at that time. But as far as like, if you wanted to go along and buy shares, by all means, we would never put a stop to that on those securities.
And going back to like what I had said earlier, like what if it reached like 10,000 a share, and I know that the market cap would be higher than any company probably at this point in the whole stock market, but would TD Ameritrade be able to cover that? Like, let's just, because I'm just a novice investor. Like, I don't really know. Like, I'm going based on what I'm hearing, but unfortunately, you're hearing it enough that it becomes believable. So then one of the other things that they say out there is like, well, just make sure your brokerage can cover just in case, like if you have 1,000 shares and it runs up to, I don't know, $10,000 a share, are they going to say, hey, listen, we just ain't got that kind of money, so we can't really pay you? Like that's not something that would ever happen.
Right. Yeah. So like that was Robinhood's problem, and from what I understand, why they restricted trading on it, because they couldn't clear the trades and pay for everything basically. Is there a limit? I mean, everybody's got a limit, right? Every company will have so much money. I don't know, what that number is, and my supervisors will know like what that limit is. Eventually, at some point, there's only so much money on the books, right? But we would have to,
So at that point, like, it might be a situation like, okay, this has reached $15,000 a share. That's it. We don't have any more money. We have to stop, I don't know, selling it or whatever. And that's it. You're capped. If you want the 15,000 per share, that's as high. If it goes to 25, we can't pay you.
Well, not necessarily. I think that would become more of a concern around allowing, new opening transactions. Right, because once you're open and you're in the transaction, closing it out is waiting for somebody else to pay, right? So we're waiting for, somebody at another firm or, the market maker to pay us or pay you rather for closing out of your position. And again, that may never be a situation that we run into here at TD Ameritrade or with Charles Schwab as we merge together with them. But, of course, like there is, probably a limit at some point for anybody out there. Any of the big firms out there, they only have, so much money. We don't have an infinite amount of money, but we have, way more than Robinhood. And again, not to beat up Robinhood, but just using them as an example because it's the one you named. So that may be a situation that's never run into.
Got you.
That'd be maybe more of like a concern that they're putting out for like anybody investing through like a small mom and pop shop or something.
Right. Yeah, it just all seems kind of very weird, scary, something that no one's ever heard kind of storyline going on here. But the part that I always have a problem with is, why doesn't anybody come out and just say, or why don't one of these big brokerages come out and say like, hey, listen, this stuff's not true, like you guys got to stop listening to this stuff. Like pretty much across the board it's been kind of like, yeah, we're not going to say it's not true, type of a thing. So that leaves room to believe that it could possibly be true. Some of this stuff with naked shorting, synthetics, dark pools, and share prices rising up out of control for brokerages that can't cover, and stuff like that. Let me ask you this question. Once you actually buy your shares, let's say I open an account with you, I buy some shares, the processing time has passed, I actually own the share. What proof can I obtain that says I own the stock that I bought over just you guys telling me, yeah, you own it?
Statements, account statements, trade confirmations, like regulatory rules out there that require that we provide you trade confirmations, and so we do provide trade confirmations on every trade.
So just confirmations, but it's not wise because it's I don't know if it's wise or not, but it's so old school to obtain the certificates, right?
Yeah, it's very. I mean, some people do because they just, they like to have a physical stock certificate. I guess just, maybe just for fun. I'm not really sure, but it's like a slow process to get a paper certificate, and there's expensive fees with acquiring paper certificates as well. I think it's like $500. Now, one certificate is not necessarily just for like one share, right? It could be for several shares.
Right.
But still, it's like a flat $500 per certificate. I think.
Wow, that's actually.
And then it's just so slow to transact, right? So if like if you have your stock certificate and you're like, oh my goodness, like I want to sell these today, like, well, it's probably not happening today because it takes a lot longer to process your stock certificate and put it like in the back in like to the account. To where it's like held in an electronic form to where you can then route an order and sell it somewhere.
So like you become now the official owner of this stock, and it's not with the brokerage anymore. So it's kind of like, who are you going to sell it to once you take the certificate, right?
Hey, how are you?
Right. Yeah,
Right.
and you can even you can physically give the stock certificate, right? So like if you have like a friend or a relative, and you wanted to give them the stock, you could actually gift it over to them and fill out a form to where they own the
But selling it then
the share.
becomes a problem. I'd have to call you guys back up and say, hey, listen, take these back. I want to sell it. Do your processing, however long that takes. And then at that point,
Right.
whatever happens to the share price, that's on the owner.
Right. Yeah, and I think I've talked to 2 people ever who had physical certificates that they were depositing, and they were just certificates that those clients had for really long periods of time, just sitting in their house, or they found it after a relative passed away or something like that. It's not super common, at least with people that call it and talk to.
Yeah. You're aware of the recent SEC rulings about transparency with regards to shorting and hedge funds and stuff like that, right? Was that a thing?
I'm sure our compliance department keeps up with a lot of that stuff. I'm not sure specifically what you're referencing, though.
I think there was something like a ruling where regulations were going to be put in place within 30 days, which that ruling or that hearing happened a week ago or so, and that's what came out on news stations and on social media, that there's going to be a lot more transparency, because on that side of this whole buying and selling situation, there's just a lot more moves that shorting a stock has versus retail buying. You don't have very many moves. It's kind of buy it and hold it and decide when you want to sell it, but they've got so many other ways to kind of I don't want to say manipulate, because that's, people cringe in with that word, but it almost seems like that. There's so many more ways to manipulate everything on that end.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see anything about that, but I'm kind of on the front lines here with the retail trade desk. I help a lot of clients to place in trades and changing settings on their accounts, and using our Thinkorswim trading platform, which has many tools, for whether you are into technical analysis and using the charts or want to use a scan tool to help you find securities that meet your investment criteria and things like that. But, then, on the back end, a brokerage firm will have a compliance department, and these folks will keep up with, every single regulatory rule change and, making sure that the entire firm is, upholding these, rules that we're required to hold clients to, and also abiding by the rules that we're supposed to abide by as a firm as well.
So if you didn't want your shares to be loaned out, you just don't have a margin account, have a cash account.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that, are you allowed to give like your opinion on any level of like, what do you think of this AMC stock, or like, is it a good idea? Is it like, or are you allowed to give any kind of opinion?
We do not. No, TD Ameritrade doesn't give like an opinion or make any recommendations on any, securities as far as whether or not to, buy, sell, hold, anything like that. We do tag like, the risk and, or rather like the ratings agencies, reviews, reports and reviews, reports and ratings rather, like on the stock profile pages, but we don't write our own reviews.
Got it. So, but at the brokerage, is it, you guys never have like any meetings like, hey, listen, there's these AMC people that they're hearing stuff on the internet and we got to deal with them. They'll be calling in and stuff like that. Like, that's not a thing.
There are certain things that like come up that we have meetings about. People might discuss what they're getting lots of, calls about and things like that, but no, this isn't something that's come up in a meeting.
Okay. I guess the last question, and I'm going to let you go because I've had you on the phone for a while. And then, I'm obviously going to make my decision on what to do. But so the share price that we're looking at, obviously you can buy it for that amount. That's the true share price for the public. There's no other different share price that may be higher or lower somewhere else, like in a different platform or anything like that. Like this share price that you see, like for instance, I'm watching it currently, it's like $14.95. That's the true and correct share price.
Yeah, when you see the bid and the ask, that's the national best bid and offer based on outstanding orders that are sitting out there at different market makers. Now, if you place an order, that's like, let's say you're buying, ask is the natural quote for buying. It's at 1947 now. If you write your order out for less than that, saying that you want to buy for less than that, the market maker might bill you, somewhere in between the bid and the ask, just to bring liquidity to the market. But yeah, generally speaking, like the bid and the ask are like the best quotes that are out there.
Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate your time. You've answered my questions as best as possible, and I'm satisfied with like the way you've been able to assist me. Obviously, I would love for somebody to get on the phone and be like, yeah, naked shorts, that exists, or it doesn't exist, or yeah, there's a lot of craziness going on, and it's gonna get exposed shortly or whatever, because this is all we hear all day long, and there's really nowhere to get concrete evidence or anything of the like confirming or denying. Obviously on mainstream media, which a lot of people say is tied into the shorting of the stock, they're always advising sell it, it's terrible, the company sucks, like sell this stock. But then when you get on social media, they're like, forget what you're hearing from them because they're in cahoots together. Buy. This thing's about to squeeze and the share price is going to rocket up and you're going to make tons of money. I just wish like there was more like somewhere where somebody can tell you like, hey, this stuff exists and the possibilities that the share price goes up are there. But I've not been able to really get, you've done a great job at answering my questions, but I just can't get like concrete answers on this stuff. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. If I knew, I would definitely tell you. We're here to help, our clients be as successful as possible with their investing, in any way that I possibly can while, staying within, the guidelines as far as like, you know, rules go and stuff like that. But, you know, when you place an order, we want to get your order out there and get you a good fill price. When you're trying to use tools on our platform, we want to make sure you know how to use them the way that you want to be able to use them and that they work for you and things like that. So, you know, I don't know, you know, other than just, you know, these things about like AMC and what kind of other things you might be considering for making your decision as far as opening a brokerage account, or if we're just simply looking to call firms and ask questions about their opinions on AMC. But I mean, there's, you know, plenty of reasons to open an account here at TD Ameritrade, and we'd be more than happy to help you get that set up and teach you how to use our tools.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. There you have it, folks. A lot of stuff they're not going to confirm. Some of the stuff that they say is kind of like, oh, okay, so you know what's up, and you are kind of confirming without confirming it. I like the fact that he spoke about Robinhood and basically just said point blank, they took away the buy button because they weren't going to be able to pay everybody should that share price go out of control. So folks, one thing I want to tell you is that I don't think 100% Johnwicksnipin, believes that they won't do something like that again, because this is a much bigger play, and we know that. So how do we know that they don't stop it at 500 a share, 1,000 a share? We don't know that, guys. So don't get upset at me for saying this. We don't know 100%. They've done it already through Robinhood, and multiple other brokerages kind of limited the whole GameStop situation. So keep that in mind, and definitely, I don't know what to tell you, but you guys got to get out of Robinhood and webull. Okay, if you believe in AMC and you believe that this is going to make you a lot of money and the share price is going to go up, you are really flirting with disaster in being in these apps. And you know, a lot of YouTubers have been telling you guys, get out of there, get into a real brokerage, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Schwab, whatever the big names are that you know. Like, I can't advise you to tell you to do it now, because like, you never know when this thing rips up. But if you're on Robinhood and webull and a free app like that, I'd be a little bit afraid. I'm gonna try to find numbers to try to get somebody on the phone. I know it's hard. They always try to just push you off to an email, but I'll try. I'll really try to see if I can find a number and get somebody on the phone. I'll start with Robinhood and just trying to press them to see what they have to say. But again, thank you guys for watching. I hope that you got some information about this. You know, I know that the video's long, but it's worthwhile. And I'm going to try to do these as often as possible. So once again, Johnwicksnipin is out.